Okay guys, yeah, let's go ahead and do a deep dive on Space Godzilla. So I think that maybe the biggest question for fans who are not familiar with Space Godzilla is like, where exactly did he come from and all that? Well, there are a few origin stories, potentially according to the first film. Obviously he does look like a Godzilla, so it's almost like he's a Godzilla clone, but certainly there's a different, I guess, body structure and certain other features that are not in the Godzilla that we all know about. So I think I'll go ahead and go into that origin story a little bit here. Okay, so the first origin story is that during Godzilla versus Mothra, Mothra is battling Batra, and she ends up taking some of Godzilla's cells into space, and that is the potential reason where the G cells from Godzilla got sort of spread and ultimately made its way into a black hole. And the second origin story is that after Godzilla defeats Biollante, there's this sort of circular wind that gets sucked up into outer space, and since Biollante is also kind of a clone, if you will, a plant clone of Godzilla, those G cells persevered over time and then got caught into a black hole. So regardless of where the G cells came from in this case, as I already mentioned, they were taken into a black hole, and apparently they manifested themselves and combined with some other galactic materials, if you will, and then out of that came a white hole. So all this stuff was sort of put into a blender in a black hole, and then it was sort of spit out a white hole. And then as you will see probably in the opening scene of the movie, you see Space Godzilla sort of encrusted in crystals, and he's kind of spinning, making his way back to Earth. It's not really clear, why it's Earth he wants to destroy as opposed to any other place in the universe. I think maybe there's a gravitation towards Earth, in the sense that is sort of the origin of his DNA in a way. But nevertheless, he ends up back on Earth and is certainly an adversary of Godzilla, and that the whole battle takes place on an island, but also in Fukuoka as well, for those who've been to Japan before. Okay, so maybe I'll just put forth my opinion here, but I do feel that between the two potential story arcs on Godzilla's, or Space Godzilla's DNA, where did it actually come from? I personally, as a fan, feel like it was from Biollante, and the reason I say that is because, Space Godzilla does have these tusks and or mandibles that are kind of coming out of his face here and here, and if you look at Biollante, she has those same features. So I think perhaps the design was an ode to a prior movie, and I personally feel like there's a stronger connection between the two characters in that, the DNA or the G cells that Biollante sort of, let's say, got spit into outer space. All that material is a pretty good basis for creating Space Godzilla, in that the G cells are still there with Godzilla's core DNA, but also there's a plant base of this as well, and I think that's also manifested at least within Space Godzilla's face. So to me, there's a better connection there. And this might be a little bit of a reach, but since we're going along this path of saying that Biollante is connected to Space Godzilla, we'd also make an argument too that Erika Shiragami, who passed away in the first 1989 Godzilla vs. Biollante after the professor basically took her DNA and spliced it with a plant and then crossed it with G cells, and then this became Biollante. So I think there is maybe a connection perhaps between Erika's DNA, her essence, and also Space Godzilla. Certainly Space Godzilla is much more menacing, arguably, than Biollante, but maybe you could argue that the G cells sort of amped up his proclivity for violence and or destruction, whereas maybe Godzilla just alone may be able to kind of sort of keep his his rage in check. So so I think there might be some discussion. Certainly, there's been a lot of chatter about this over the years, at least in the forums and things like that. But just something to think about as a Godzilla fan. So anyway, I hope you guys like this content. If so, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. And head on over to KaijuKingdomCollectibles.com. We also they are selling some of these products ourselves. And yeah, hope to catch you next time. Thanks.